Hey everybody, this is Meyer, and in this video we're going to be creating this squelchy acid sound to be sitting underneath the lead, kind of with the mid bass and sub bass is what it sounds like by itself. And in context. And you get the idea. Alright, so to go ahead and get started, as usual, we're going to duplicate this initial patch. And here we're just going to go ahead and give this an icon. I'm going to call this acid. And I like giving it this kind of olivey color, I guess. So that's the sound we're going to use. I'm just going to go ahead and Command L, Control L on Windows, map it here to the mixer. Oops. I don't know how this guy got here. This should be just default. Anyway. So this will be the sound we're working with. Now, it's pretty simple to do an acidy kind of sound. So the main thing is, I'm going to turn this dynamic bass off, just flat, everything, is basically just running a simple waveform. And I'm going to use a mono waveform here through a filter and maybe through either a bandpass or a low pass or a high pass filter with really heavy distortion. So what I'm going to do is start by having the sustain all the way up. And we'll start with this waveform, but we may actually want to use like a square wave. We'll see. And what I'm going to use is under this low pass, I'm going to use this 18 dB per octave 303. And what I'm going to use is this first effect as distortion. So under distortion, I'm going to start with this hard clip. But I may also use the second filter as a high pass filter. And the reason I like doing this, I'm not going to do anything fancy. It'll just be plain digital high pass filter, is to help with the distortion, that not too much low end goes in before the distortion. You'll often see many distortion units having this before it goes in so that these low frequencies, which have a lot of energy, aren't causing this to clip. We're going to try to be clipping it with this resonant peak. And we also really need to gas this, so let's go ahead and turn the arpeggiator on. What can also help is using a bandpass filter, but and we're kind of getting there a little bit. Let's go ahead and on the effects, I'm going to go ahead and just choose a plate style reverb. And this delay is really important. I'll use a ping pong delay because this is a mono sound. Sorry, I didn't mean to duck FX1. And we can even add a second oscillator too. So I'm going to copy this to oscillator 2, but let's go ahead and make sure this waveform is right first. That's good. So now let's go ahead and see how we can kind of fit this in. Yeah, let's start with something like this. Loop this 8. And for when it's not playing, it can help to use the release here. You can also use just the mouse wheel. I like that. I almost want to set this to loop all of the steps, and we're going to copy this pattern over. And the reason I want to do this is to give it a little bit of movement later. And one of the things you can also do is just legato. Okay, that's sounding pretty good, and what I'm going to simply do is take this, it's basically the pattern that we're using here for the mid bass, and I'm just going to go ahead and actually the easier thing to do is just copy this down and make this unique. Go ahead and give this a name and a color, call this acid, and we'll give it our nice little olive color here. And all we need to do is move this MIDI from this mid bass to the acid. And then just grab this first note here, because this is where the chord progression starts. And at this time, kind of as a housekeeping thing, let's go ahead and double the length of this outro section. For now, we don't need the pluck at that point, but for some of this other stuff, we will want it. And almost I'm thinking, rather than using this filter, maybe I'll use a bandpass filter. So let's do... Which of course can be done by using a low pass and a high pass filter. As I'm listening to this, I'm thinking this is going to be a better choice. So even though the sound is in mono, this ping pong delay and the reverb are pushing it out to the sides, which is kind of what we want. I used to have problems getting my acids to cut through, and I think part of the problem was I was trying to put too much stereo information in before the rest of the sound was ready. So that's one way to do it. Now let's set up this mod wheel. Map the mod wheel here to the cutoff, and map the mod wheel. We might map it to the resonance as well, but I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and set the maximum 0.2, so that way this will go between the minimum and maximum values. The other thing you can do, which is kind of interesting, you can set these filters in parallel. So we could set this to the 18 dB per octave filter. Yeah, I am going to turn that on and do this. Part of the reason this is helping the sound, quite frankly, is because it's just adding gain to it. And the more gain that's added, the more it's going to clip. And this is just has to do with the fact that this clipping, this distortion is non-linear. So it's going to be adding those second order harmonics, which is kind of what we want in the sound. Just kind of normalizing the volume, and let's go ahead and mix this in. Actually, yeah, and then let's go ahead and get this mod wheel while we're at it too. So move the mod wheel around, tools, last tweaked, and then create the automation clip. Here we are down here at the bottom. So I'm going to move this up, holding down shift and using the mod wheel, or sorry, mouse wheel, to move this this mod wheel section up. And here we are. So here we go. So we have this first part of the drop. Actually, maybe we'll bring it in at the beginning and we'll just have it playing. And one of the things that can help too is using this compressor here in the effects. Yeah, 4:1 is probably pretty good. Just to keep it from getting too out of control, especially as we open and close it. And the last thing we're going to want to do to, of course, fit this in is add this fruity limiter, the sidechain compression here. We're going to move the kick to it as well, like this, and then just make sure. Yeah, there we go. And actually, what I think I've done, I'm going to just group these by hitting Command G and just kind of extend this a little bit, but I'm going to want to do something maybe a little different. I know this isn't a video on the pluck, but I'm hearing it now and I want to do it. Maybe up to the G. Yeah, and basically do the same thing again, up to the F. Awesome, sounding good.